My first experience with this minister was a Christian television show that he was on. I was watching him on TV. He was being interviewed, and I couldn't help but admire him. He was a man's man and was talking about men's ministry and the importance of men serving God and the church challenging men, the church being a man's church. And it was very, very powerful. And not long after that, he came to a church that I attended. I had not yet started Church on the Move. He came to the church I attended, and I'm sitting near the front that day. He's there speaking, and I couldn't help but notice, and looking into his eyes, he was very, very, very tired. He was a little older at that time, and he was traveling like crazy because late in life, he began to develop a network of churches across the United States. Well, I had a word for him, and I felt it very strongly. Didn't go to church with that word, but I could see him, and so I went up to him after the service and very respectfully, I did not call him out in front of a bunch of people. You know, it would be totally wrong for me to do that. Here I am, a younger man, and he's an older man, and for me to talk down to him as if I'm instructing him would have been totally disrespectful. But I went to him very quietly, and I said, Dr. Cole, I believe the Lord has given me something to share with you. I have a network of churches that watch me every month through my children's ministry network. And they receive teaching from me. I do a children's church for those churches so that they have a day off. And I knew they didn't have traveling speakers enough to go around. And churches couldn't have afforded them anyway. But I gave those teachers a break once a month with my Sunday morning roundup. And I also did all kinds of teaching to help these people better their children's ministry. And so that network went all over. I said, you need the same thing for men. You can't go to all these churches face to face. You can't be in every one of them. And this men's network that you're building or you want to build, it's bigger, way bigger than what you can personally attend to. You need to learn to use video. And if you want to come to my place, I'll show you how we do it. And so he was enthralled by that. He came and toured our studio, and he was blown away at how simple it was. And what I saw was he looked at me and thought, if this young guy can do it with kids, I can do this thing with men. And before long, there was something called the Christian Men's Network. He did at least 2 meetings like that at my church where we videoed it. And that message was captured and played to churches all over America. So he had a huge following of ministers. And he had an amazing teaching. Christ-likeness and manhood are synonymous. That was his benchmark slogan. It was something that he shared all the time. And then he came to our church one Sunday morning and preached the message that forever changed my life. And I could point to several things that he taught that made an impact on me. But this is the takeaway, the big takeaway. And that's what I've tried to do with sharing these things with you. I've tried to share with you about the one big thing. And I'm skipping all kinds of other people. There were way more than 12 people who spoke into my life. But these 12 are the ones who gave me the pillars, the things that I look back on and say, that one really affected my life in a super significant way. So there were other people that affected my life, but they were not the first ones to do it. I'd heard the same message from other people, so I didn't include them in the group. But listen to this one. Ed Cole taught this one Sunday morning at our church. He said, Jesus said to the disciples, Matthew 16:24, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life will lose it. Whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world, loses his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? And then he made this statement. He said, every death in Christ is followed by a glorious resurrection. And when he said that, I mean, the wow hit me. I had never thought about that. And he brought out, we're called to crosses all the time. You will bear many crosses in your life. But what you have to remember about these crosses, as with the cross of Jesus, it wasn't permanent. Jesus didn't stay on the cross. There's some elements of Christianity who love to portray Jesus on the cross all the time, but he's not there. He's risen. And so the resurrected Christ is the perpetual state of Jesus now, not the cross. That was a temporary stopover. I do not make light of it. It was hugely important. But God calls us to crosses, and they're not permanent. And what that means is there are times when we have to lay things down. And when you lay something down for the Lord, he will return it to you, but it will be resurrected and glorified when it comes back. So as I began to think about this, I thought, wow, God took me to a cross about a month after I got saved. In those days, I was 17 and a half. I had a girlfriend for the first time ever that was steady, and I had a car. So every weekend, we have a date. And she was my girl, and we were pretty serious, and it made life so much easier because I didn't have to find a new girl every weekend. Now, I didn't have steady girlfriends dripping off me, not my brother. They were lined up for him. I used to think, John, just give me one of your rejects, man. Anyway, I didn't have that experience. So this gal was near and dear to me. But when I got saved, she didn't follow. I thought for sure she would want what I had, and she didn't. And we had some arguments about it. And I could tell she thought she was right with God, and she knew she wasn't, and I knew she wasn't. But she had no intention whatsoever to embrace the Lord, to be born again. She didn't want it. And she saw no need for it and began to try to tell me that I had become a religious fanatic. And just because I loved Jesus and wanted to talk about him, and because I started going to church a lot. And so anyway, when I was at church, I requested prayer for this girl. And one morning, evening, I forget what it was, but there was a lady at the church that I went to, and I said, pray for my girlfriend. She's unsaved, and I want her to get saved. And this lady says, I'm not going to do it. And that was a bucket of cold water. And she said, you need a new girlfriend. You need a girl who loves Christ. And she opened the scriptures to 2 Corinthians 6 and showed me, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. And she showed me how that I was in an unequal yoke. Now, when she put that before me, she did something. She brought me to a crossroads. The Lord spoke to me when I first moved to Tulsa, and he said, I am going to give you a crossroads ministry. Throughout your ministry, you will preach things that will bring people to a why, and they will have to choose which way they go. If they follow the instruction of the Spirit and the teaching of the Word, they'll be blessed. But if they take the wrong fork, they will forever suffer because of it. And so I'm a very direct person, and when I preach, I do bring people to conviction about certain things, and I believe that's one of the things that has built Church on the Move. I know pastors who never want to confront their congregations. You know what happens? I'll tell you exactly what happens. They build up a whole big group of uncommitted people, and they've tried to keep these people happy. And they've catered to these people, and they've never crossed these people, never been really direct with these people. And now all of a sudden, one or two of them go south, and you've got a whole gang of folks who've never been through the fire, and they leave in a big huff and in a big group, and it's called a church split. And I don't believe in church splits. Now, have we lost people? Oh, heck yeah, we've lost a lot of people over the years. We had church chips. We never had splits. In other words, our people left in ones and twos because they were offended when I preached a certain thing. Jesus had the same thing happen to him. Read the Gospel of John. There were people who were offended at some of Jesus' teaching. You know, think about it. He said, except you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. And a whole group of people said, I'm done. I can't follow that. And they walked away from Jesus. And what he was trying to say to them is, look, you guys have seen me only as a rabbi, only as a teacher. I have come to be a Savior, and I got to give my life for you. And it is my death on the cross, my shed blood, that's going to make you a child of God. They couldn't stomach that. They didn't believe in that. They couldn't accept that. And so they walked away. And the very thing Jesus was sent to accomplish for them, they didn't benefit from because they wouldn't take the right fork at the crossroads. So Dr. Cole was teaching here that you have to come to a cross. When you make the right decision, you give something up. But God will bring that thing back to you, but way better than what you had. About 2 months maybe after I made this decision, I saw the girl I would eventually marry. Now, she was quite a bit younger. I was younger, and it wasn't near time for us to be married. But I saw her, and I thought, whoa, she's cute. But you know what impressed me? She had a wonderful family. Her mother was my Sunday school teacher. Her dad was the head deacon in our church. He was an amazing man, and I loved this family. So I didn't just get that pretty girl. I got this amazing family instead, right along with her, not instead of, but in addition to. I'm telling you, I got the best end of the stick. It was a blessing to me. And I'm so glad I went to that cross, because when I went to that cross, I came out on the other side with a glorious resurrection. So in life, you will be called maybe not to take a certain job. Maybe the job that you would have taken would have given you more money, but you turned it down. God will pay you back for the death that you died to that job. Or maybe it's a pack of friends that you have to turn away from in order to serve the Lord more effectively. There are any number of ways you can go to the cross, but you will be called throughout your Christian walk to a point of decision where you have to make up your mind. Which way will I go? And remember this, every death in Christ is followed by a glorious resurrection.
I want to thank you for watching our podcast today. And if you really liked it, would you please give us a little thumbs up by clicking on that sign down below? And then I would encourage you to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future podcasts, because they're all going to be good. And if you would like to support us financially, either with a one-time gift or recurring gift, you can do that by clicking on the link below or going to myfaithroots.com. Thank you so much for watching this program.